Lesson 6.2 is on how do alcohol and tobacco affect your body. Alcohol and tobacco is probably more common in your daily life. Maybe your friends or family members may use alcohol or tobacco, or you may know of someone that use these. So let's take a look at it and see how they affect your body. We have 4 objectives. First one, describe how alcohol affects the body. 2. Identify the factors that influence the effect of alcohol on the body. 3. Describe how tobacco affects the body. And 4. Explain why smokeless tobacco is as dangerous as cigarettes. Number 1. Mental effects of drinking alcohol. It is interesting how even before all these scientific journals and researches indicate that drinking and smoking is bad for you, Adventists have been following and supporting having a healthful lifestyle since 1863, which is a long time ago, based on Ellen White's health message. We know that through researches, fewer people die from heart disease and smoke related cancer if we abstain or not participate in drinking and smoking. Especially with alcohol, because we're starting with that, can intoxicate you. Intoxication means you'll have impaired mental and physical abilities due to drug use. Depending on which type of drug is going to be different, but it's going to give you different conditions such as mental confusion, vomiting, seizure, maybe slow breathing, and low body temperature. And these are all these symptoms that you have when you drink alcohol. We also find evidence in the Bible that supports abstaining from drinking alcohol. In Proverbs 31:4-5, this is using New King James Version, it says, "It is not for kings, O Lemuel, it is not for kings to drink wine, nor for princes intoxicating drink, lest they drink and forget the law, and pervert the justice of all the afflicted." Now, it is important that we understand the historical background when these were written. When they had kings instead of presidents or prime ministers, kings were basically doing all the work that the judge would have. So whenever you have conflicts, whenever you have to decide something very important, you're going to go and present your case in front of the king, and the king will decide which action you'll have to take. So that's why we have stories like King Solomon and the 2 women with a baby fighting for one baby, and they're each saying that, oh, he's my baby, right? So they had to be very wise and clear-minded all the time so they can make good, sound judgment. But they're saying, don't drink wine or intoxicating drink because it's going to pervert the justice. It's going to pervert your judgment. So drinking will affect you to not make good judgment, and that is very important because when you're not making good judgment, you're often making mistakes and putting yourself in danger, maybe physically, mentally, or both. Then one might ask, why do teens drink? We have several different reasons, but one of the reasons is because teens naturally take risks. It may be either to prove yourself to people around you or you want to look cool. Either way, you are going to take more risks, taking more adventurous route, and oftentimes it's by drinking alcohol that you feel cool, older, and maybe more adventurous. Another factor would be heredity. Teens with an alcoholic parent are 4 times more likely to consume alcohol and become alcoholic. It doesn't mean that you're certainly going to become an alcoholic if you have an alcoholic parent. It means you may have genetic factors that your bodies are more likely to be addicted. For example, Native Americans are more likely to become addicted with substances, especially alcohol. Another one, I think this is really the biggest reason why teens drink. is because family and media's influence. For example, more than half of the Super Bowl commercials are related to alcohol. Also, in different movies, social media, they're portraying drinking as a pleasurable and positive activity. At the end of a long day, you're going to go home, plump on your couch, and open that can of beer, and you gulp it down, and it's very refreshing, kind of a message. So, when you're watching those commercials, even though you're not aware of it, you're really putting your mindset into that positive message, and later on you may say, hey, it's not so bad. After all, it's going to be a small reward at the end of the day. Sometimes different family history may affect you and say, oh, in our family gatherings, it's casual that we're having a glass of wine or a can of beer or having a party or so forth. And that can also formulate your idea toward drinking. Number two, immediate effects of alcohol. These are some of the effects that you're going to have when you're drunk or intoxicated after consuming alcoholic beverages. It doesn't mean that as soon as you have this drink, you're going to feel this way. It means if your body's not breaking down alcohol within the given time, then you may experience some or all of these symptoms. When police officers are checking to see if a person is under influence of alcohol while driving, they often have them walk on a straight line. If they're drunk, usually they cannot walk in a straight line because they will lose balance. They may stumble while walking, they may not be able to walk in a straight line, and so forth. When they're drunk, they're also going to have slurred speech or vision. So it's going to be very slow, sluggish, sometimes hard to understand what they're saying, and your vision will also blur, so you may not be able to clearly see who you're with or where you're walking toward, etc. When you are drunk, you're more likely to have temper or have destructive behavior. So sometimes a person may be very quiet and polite, and once they drink, they're going to start breaking things and cursing out, and it's not likely that they're going to remember either. When you're under the influence of alcohol, it's also going to impair your judgment, like we said, and it's also going to slow down your reflex. So combination of impaired judgment, slow reflex, and also losing balance, oftentimes people who are drunk are going to stumble down and they can't really catch themselves falling, so they're going to injure, either skinning their knees or arms or breaking their head and so forth. It's also going to slow down the function of the central nervous system because, again, alcohol is a depressant. So it's going to slow down your metabolism, slow down your heartbeat, and lower your temperature as well. So along the same line, it's going to decrease the heart rate, and it's going to cause your cells and organs to operate in less effective and efficient manner. And because everything is slowing down, especially with your nervous system, your senses are going to be altered and your mood is going to have some changes as well. Now, the factors that determine intoxication is really depending on your liver. So liver is the organ that filters harmful substances in your blood, and because alcohol includes or contain chemicals that can be very intoxicating to your body, it tries to filter those things from your blood. Now, even though liver is very effective in those filtering system, it cannot process more than a certain amount. So for example, liver can process one drink per hour, and this one drink means depending on the type of a drink, it's going to be one serving per drink. Okay, one serving of drink per hour. As you can see, I have different serving size for different type of alcoholic beverages, and for a can of beer or a glass of wine or a shot of liquor, you're going to have different amount of alcohol in there. So that's going to determine how much you can consume for that certain type. And the stronger the drink is, the likelihood of intoxication will increase for a smaller amount of consumption. How about long-term effects of alcohol? When you are frequently and consistently consuming alcohol, you have many different um, diseases that you can contract, and one of these unfortunate long-term effects would be cirrhosis. I did not put a picture of an actual cirrhosis liver in this slide, but as you can see from the picture, it is pretty disturbing. Now, thankfully, we don't have to see that in real life because your liver is going to be inside of your body. But when you develop cirrhosis, that's how your liver is going to look like. So let's take a look at cirrhosis and see how and why this disease would develop. So first, it's a liver disease caused by accumulated scar tissue. So this is going to be the order of how things are going to happen. First, a person may drink excessively, and while you're doing that, when you drink too much, you're going to damage your liver cells. And when your cells are damaged, after those damages, they're going to have scar tissue forming inside of your liver tissue. If you repeat that oftentimes, it's going to accumulate, and what they do is they're going to limit the blood flow inside of your liver. And like we said, liver is a very important organ because it filters harmful substances inside of your blood system. Now, if you don't have enough blood flowing into your liver cells are going to eventually die. And once they die, they're not going to recover. So if you have a lot of these cells dying from all these scar tissue, eventually your liver is going to stop functioning and it can't filter anything from your blood system anymore, and you develop cirrhosis. You have about 25,000 yearly deaths in the US from cirrhosis that are related to alcoholism. And the fortunate thing is, if your liver is not damaged badly, it can recover. But by the time your liver is completely covered with scar tissue, it's going to be too late, and you may require to have liver transplant in order to survive. And here are some other possible long-term effects of alcohol. You may develop cardiovascular disease like arrhythmia, which means you're going to have irregular heartbeat. You'll have high blood pressure. You may have cancer in your mouth, esophagus, throat, liver, or even breast, because when you're consuming alcohol, that's going to be the immediate area that alcohol will spread into your bloodstream. You may actually die from traffic accidents because 40% of all traffic death in the US is related to alcohol, and 1/3 of people who commit suicide consume alcohol. It doesn't mean that everyone and anyone who consumes alcohol will commit suicide, but because of this chemical component of alcohol being depressant, it's going to make a person feel lethargic, and oftentimes if they have preconditioned depression, it can cause people to commit suicide. It can also be a cause of domestic violence and child abuse, especially when a parent is an alcoholic and tends to be violent. And if you are drunk and you go to workplace when you're not sober, you may have workplace injuries as well. So consuming alcohol can be dangerous mentally, but it can be dangerous physically because of the choices or the coordination that you lack. It can also give you brain damages, pneumonia, or even tuberculosis or TB. So, although consuming alcohol may be pleasurable to some people, it's going to come with a lot more risks and negative effects than you can imagine.